Okay, here we are back again. We had looked at what an argument is, what its parts are, and practiced a little bit trying to move from a passage of philosophical writing to maybe a little bit more of a structured, organized, schematic about how an argument works. And this is all done so we can get a better sense of the argument and so get a better sense of what the philosopher is telling us. In this second video, I want to talk about conditions for a good philosophical argument. So, what sorts of things should we be looking for? So, we call a good argument a sound argument. And I'll say, first of all, that a sound argument is sound just in case these four conditions are met. It's valid, its premises are true, the premises are better known to us than the conclusion, and the premises are relevant. So here's the things that you should be trying to achieve when you produce your arguments, and the things that I'll be looking at when I assess your arguments. Let's look at each of these briefly. Okay, so the first feature is validity. Let me make myself a little smaller here. Okay, and that condition was we want the premises and the conclusion to both be true. So if we can have a situation where the conclusion could still be true and the premise is not true, then we know we got a problem. We know that the argument is not valid. And this is a test that logicians would use to test arguments. So here's an argument example. Janet has blue eyes, Ed has brown hair. Therefore, someone has both blue eyes and brown hair. It could be true that Janet has blue eyes, and it could be true that Ed has brown hair, and it could be false that somebody has both these things on them. All we know from the premises is about Janet's eyes and about Ed's hair. We don't know Janet's hair color at all. So, and this is a situation where the premises could be true and the conclusion false. It's possible that nobody in the world has both blue eyes and brown hair just on the basis of this argument. The second condition is we want true premises. This is a little easier. Okay, so here's the example is eating 7 bags of potato chips a day is fun, which is probably true. Whatever is fun is conducive to good health, which isn't true at all. Lots of things are fun, but aren't very healthy. Therefore, eating 7 bags of potato chips a day is conducive to good health. And that's clearly something that most of us would see. That's not going to help your health at all. Okay, so here we don't have true premises at all. Previously we were assuming that the premises are true, but the conclusion doesn't have to be true. Here, if these premises are true, the conclusion would be true, but the premises are not true. Again, particularly number 2. What about the premises are better known than conclusion? Well, here's an example of that. God exists, therefore God exists. That's an argument. You can see I hope right away that doesn't get you very far. And one of the reasons for this is, well, just basically asserts the same thing that it proves. So the premises in this situation would be equally known, maybe equally badly known or equally unknown. Okay, so we want some premises that are acceptable, plausible. People would see, yep, I accept those. And then we want to show them that logic pushes them, just like in the case of Gorgias, to take a conclusion that they may not have actually already known that they believe. So logicians will tell us that a conclusion is implicit inside premises. If we see that the premises are true, we're led by logic to the conclusion. And finally, the premises need to be relevant to the conclusion. So here's an example where I don't think things are relevant at all. 2 plus 2 equals 4, true. 2 times 2 equals 4, that's true. The sum of interior angles of a Euclidean triangle is 180 degrees. Those don't seem to be connected at all, and they really aren't. I meant them to be unconnected. Okay, so we want relevance. as well as better known premises, as well as true premises, as well as true premises that lead to a true conclusion. Okay, a couple more general points. Okay, so formal properties of good philosophical inquiry. So by formal, I mean this is the characteristic that arguments should meet. Okay, because they meet this doesn't make them good or bad. Okay, it makes them poor arguments. Okay, so clarity of expression. We need to be clear about what we're talking about. Subtlety in interpreting the work of others, something that we're working on in this course. Insight in drawing distinctions, as well as in constructing and presenting arguments for one's own positions. Fairness in representing the positions of others, and straightforwardness and honesty in answering objections, even if this involves the admission that one cannot at present respond satisfactorily. So these would all be good things, and these would be things that we would praise in every argument. But they don't necessarily mean that we have a good argument. Okay, so a lot of students might fall back on this, and is this a good argument? And you might say, yeah, well, the terms are very clear, and he does a good job at setting it up. But that doesn't really get at the real issue, because we're not looking at formal properties; they should be there. We're looking at material properties, and the material properties that are most important, really the only thing that's important here, are the premises true? Most philosophers will not make logical mistakes. And so this is the important issue, but it's also the hardest issue, because there's no easy method for figuring this out. And a couple of the reasons for this are very deep. The first one is that thinking that premises are true or even plausible, which might be a softer term, right? Maybe we can't say whether they're true or not, but we can say they're plausible, has a lot to do with the basic assumptions and first principles that a philosopher has. So in the Apology, we learn that certain basic assumptions of the Athenians got Socrates into trouble. Okay, they disagreed not about particular sorts of points, but about a worldview. Okay, their worldview was very different than Socrates, and he didn't fit well in with their views about what people should be thinking are important and what they should be doing. So we should always try to assess arguments in terms of the bigger philosophical context which they give rise to. And so we're looking at this carefully with Socrates too. What is the context of Platonic philosophy that gives rise to Plato's own basic assumptions about what philosophy is and what people will find acceptable? So this is Plato's point about moral prerequisites. Okay, so what you love, and the Gorgias is a lot about this. What you love, is it you want to make people happy, you want to make them like you want to get money, or do you love the truth, will affect what you consider to be a plausible premise in your argument. So your character affects not only your ability to see what's true, but even your ability to, the ability of others to accept what is true. So a lot of times these discussions have boiled down to, there really is a worldview separating Euthyphro and Plato, and a worldview separating the people of Athens and Socrates, and not so much disagreement about certain facts.